Hey, YouTube and Instagram, Gordon Miller here. Hey, how are you guys doing? Uh, it is Thursday, not a normal live at 5 kind of day for us, but I had some things that we didn't get a chance to cover the last time, so I wanted to go over those so they didn't stack up. Typically on Friday, my wife will likely join us, so I wanted to make sure that got a chance to address the questions that people had. We had some good questions, and I wanted to get those out of the way. So, um, heading over to my trusty Instagram account. Got my iPad. Hey, mom, how you doing? My mother loves joining. Yeah, I just spoke with her on the phone for I don't know about a half an hour. So it's always good when you get a chance to catch up. But anyway, got my trusty Apple Pencil here, and going to go through the topics. Um, so let's see. First, I wanted to, in case everybody leaves after the first 2 minutes, if you go to gordonmiller.com, obviously you can book a session. I have to add a new type, 30-minute meeting type. The Calendly link will end up being in the YouTube video. So if you want to book, you can use the Calendly link, and I'll add the 30-minute session. The calls have been really helpful for lots of people. I've enjoyed the calls this week, and we're doing everything now by Zoom calls. So I think everybody's enjoyed Zoom pretty much. The great thing is when you use the system, it automatically creates a Zoom call and sends you all the information and everything else. So it's really great. All right, so let's see. On Cinco de Mayo, people were indulging in frosty adult beverages, so that's always a good thing. Let's see here. Let's see. The other thing is that I posted was the fact that for the first time ever, Ferrari is now worth more than General Motors and Ford. So go figure. Hard to believe that Ferrari is coming along. They have their new SUV coming out, and so that's going to be an amazing thing. Mm, I tell you. So I also posted about Jack Dorsey, the CEO of Twitter, donating 28% of his wealth, $1 billion, to COVID-19 relief. And some of the comments were kind of confused at why somebody would do that. And I had said that that's typically a tax dodge. You make a charitable donation, and that charitable donation allows you to offset gains in that charitable loss carryover. So if you're getting ready to make billions of dollars, taking $1 billion loss for a donation is a great way to do that. So typically, if you're going to take $1 billion in capital gains, you'd have $1 billion offset in the donation, things like that. So don't think that everybody's all generous. They do the offset so they can have the loss from giving away all that money, so that they can have another thing. Like maybe he's going deep in a bunch of other stocks, and he's going to have some huge upside, and he's going to sell, and he'll turn the remaining 3 billion of his wealth into 6 billion, or 5 billion, or something like that. And that 2 billion in capital gains, you need to offset the taxes on that, and you can only offset it so much. And so one tax strategy, as I understand it, is to make large donations like this. So let's not give him too much credit. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that everything is on YouTube. So if you don't end up catching it on YouTube, on Instagram Live, or here on YouTube Live, then everything is uploaded to YouTube, so you don't have to worry about it. The Instagram Live stuff is doing pretty well. I'm also considering doing LinkedIn Live and Facebook Live as well. And so I'd be curious what your comments were about Instagram Live, or I'm sorry, about Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live. I don't know if any of you all do any of those platforms or not, but So let's get to the questions. We have a couple of questions here, and uh, let's see. Am I seeing evidence of increased security threats against platforms of various organizations? I really would be interested in getting your opinion on this and sharing experience around pen testing, which is penetration testing, best practices, and how to ensure against cyber attacks. We don't see a lot of that. We have security measures in place to ensure that those kind of things really aren't problematic for us. I know some other people have if they have specific information that is relative to or relevant for whatever purpose. So it's hard to say. I mean, I don't particularly see it. Our clients don't see it. We've done security work for large government agencies, both HIPAA compliance and medical data, as well as DoD and Department of Defense level security. One of our projects required coordination with NSA, the National Security Agency. So Mm, we just don't see a significant number of regular threats like that. So, um, next question on Instagram is: can you talk about the Tesla stock market problem and the Elon Musk situation? So, I asked about that. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And I guess Elon got himself banned because every time he says something, the stock ends up getting manipulated up or down in some fashion. He says something stupid and the stock goes down, and he says something, positive, and people take it as a sign they should buy the stock, and the stock goes up. I mean, that's the problem with CEOs. I mean, when you're the CEO of a public company, I'm surprised they didn't take his, BlackBerry away from him a long time ago. I mean, come on. I mean, you can't just tweet stuff publicly that isn't public knowledge, and that's a real nightmare situation. So when we were doing public work, we were doing work with the folks at Clinical Data with the stock ticker symbol of CLDA, and Clinical Data. They used to be making major announcements, and we'd have to update the website for them and handle some of the social stuff. And it was, we would get updates literally at 5 minutes until 9 when they were going to go live on the, at 9 o'clock at the something at the New York Stock Exchange to make a big announcement. And so, we even as their partners on the technology side weren't able to have advanced knowledge of what the announcements were going to be. So, um, do you think starting a visualization company, consulting company, is a good idea? Well, so data visualization's part of a widespread field of data mining and big data plays and stuff like that. I don't think data visualization specifically has a great deal of value in and of itself. There's lots of companies already doing that. So I'm not sure that I understand where the perceived value is on that particular solution. So I don't know. I mean, you'd have to have something very specific that you were going to be able to offer. And so I think you have to come up with something unique. So I heard this interview with on Glenn Beck, and I posted this, and this is from Arthur Brooks, and it says, Arthur Brooks is a professor at Harvard. He teaches in both Harvard's Kennedy School of Leadership as well as Harvard School of Business, and he teaches a course on happiness. And so, the whole Gary Vee's favorite thing is, don't you just want to be happy? And so, the conversation on the Glenn Beck show yesterday or Wednesday about Arthur Brooks talked about the fact that the problem is that people are unhappy because they're chasing the wrong thing. And so he said, here are the things that they're chasing. They're chasing money, power, pleasure, and fame. So money, everybody's chasing, they'll jump from job to job for an extra $10,000 a year. They're chasing power. They want a management position. They want people, under them in that they can manage. pleasure, whether that's in their personal relationships or, people heading out to the strip club, and then fame, that, people want to be famous when especially people on Instagram and YouTube, who are getting paid, six, seven figures. They're making hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. And they don't really do it. They do it because they want the money, and they do it because of the instant hit of pleasure it gives them to be famous, and they're all driven on this internet fame thing. So it's another reason why this content is completely demonetized or unmonetized. There's no, I'm not making any money from you all watching this. I'm not making any money from books I'm selling. I'm not making any money from courses I'm selling. If you want to call and talk to me, I mean, I'll charge you for the talking to me because there's only a certain number of hours in the day. But I mean, you're under no obligation to, go to gordonmiller.com and sign up for a session. I mean, come on, whatever. So, but for me, I just don't, and yeah. So Troy says, right, do the right things with the right people at the right time and for the right reasons, and the money will take care of itself. That's a quote that my father had told me. When I asked him about, I asked him two things, and actually, I guess I asked him like three things. And I was like, so what do I need to start my own business? And he was like, well, you need a American Express card and a FedEx account number. And the reason that American Express had been such a great partner for all the time we've been in business is because they don't treat you like a child. You can pretty much spend whatever you want as long as you pay your bill at the end of the month. And if you ever don't pay your bill, you're in trouble. But I mean, I've pre-approved $30,000 purchases in a single day, and they didn't even blink. They appreciated it if I called to get confirmed. But FedEx has never failed to deliver when the Postal Service and UPS has failed a number of times. I've never had FedEx fail to deliver a package. And then how to make $1 million. When I asked my father, he's like, convince 1 million people to give you $1. And so that's, I think, a valid thing. And then the other thing is, just the idea of that, in terms of how, how do how do you focus on making money? And, then Dad was like, well, as long as you do the right things with the right people for the right reasons, the money will take care of itself. And I really believe that. I mean, I think that, I've always tried to stay focused on doing the right thing, having the right connections, working on the right relationships. And I think that's made a huge difference. So, but money, power, pleasure, and fame, those are the things you do not want to, don't want to be focusing on. I mean, they offer no real value whatsoever. And they ultimately don't make you happy because you're always going to want more money or more power or more pleasure. And then, of course, everybody wants to be more famous, so mm, me, I could care less about being famous. I care actually about helping you guys. I mean, that's what I'm doing this for. The and so here's the other side of what you should be seeking. And so faith, family, community, and work. And so the idea there is that, and you don't have to believe in a specific God. The whole idea is that you should be seeking faith, faith in humanity, faith in mankind, faith in a specific religion. But, you need to, faith has to be a component in order for you to be happy. And, I enjoy my faith. I'm Catholic. My wife was Catholic when we met, and I converted here in the last 8 years. And I'm very happy in the Catholic Church. I really am. And family, I mean, my family, I've said before, is number one. I've been with my wife for 22 years, married 21. We have three great kids, 20, about to be 18, about to be 14. And, family is just really it. I mean, for me, I mean, all the money could go away tomorrow. I mean, I don't really desire for any power, so I don't. Power is not something I seek, and but it really is for me. It's been about the family, and I didn't start making real money until I really started focusing on my family, and then the money just started coming because the family was so important. I was so motivated to make more money and things like that. So. Um, and then community, which is a sense of community like we've built online here, where the community of people that I have that follow me on Cora, and all 258,000 of you that follow me in the my space, The Truth Unfiltered, mean a lot to me. I mean, helping everybody. That's why I do the calls that I do. That's why I am there to share my experience so that everybody gets. A better better shot at a better life. And I love working with people 18 to 29 because I didn't start this whole process till I was almost 29. So if I could have had the kind of experience where I what I learned in the last 25 or 26 years, if I can share that with you over the next 5 years, and everybody has like a 20-year or 30-year jump on what I didn't know, man, think of how successful you all are going to be. That's going to be amazing. So, and then work, really kind of something meaningful something that gives your life purpose. And that's why I love what I do. I mean, I love helping put people together with opportunities. I love helping people achieve their success goals and things like that. So, it's great for me. So those are the things that you should be pursuing. All right. So, it says, I'm very curious about this. You say you do your own stock analysis. On the next Instagram live session, can you describe the basic 3 things you use to guide you? Sure. So let me get back to, we'll use the marathon oil thing as an example. And we'll discuss how I realized that, it was such a great buy. And, and let's see here. Let's see. I can't seem to make it any bigger. So the great thing is that here is the chart for Marathon Oil, and I bought it in the dip right here. And you look at where it was and how they were going to structure this, and it's continued to climb sort of out of that drop. And the great thing is that that was the beginning of March when it kind of fell off the edge, but the stock price was all the way up to as high as 12, just a few months ago. And so for me, I look at big drops like this as an opportunity to buy in. Marathon was selling at when I bought it at like 3 something, and it looks like its close right now is 551. So I think I bought it at like 350. And the other day it was as high as 612. So which was almost double what I think it was I was up 60% or something like that. It's continued to come down, but if you look at where the local low was, it was as low as $3.10 in that one little gap right there. So I did the research and looked at I follow which ones have huge drops, and I look for ways. Do I ever think they're going to get back up to $12 a share? They might. I mean, who knows? And if they do, that'll be 3 to 5x my return, 3x, 4x, something like that. And even if they don't, I mean, even if they get back up to like $6 or $7 a share, which it hit 6 already, then you double your money in like less than a month. So in about a month. So the benefit here is that I look for things that I think are going to perform and rebound. I do the research in what all the news is. They had a lot of debt, and they were looking to be able to carry through. They got the funding that they were going to need, and that's all that matters. So for me, I look for who are the biggest losers in a given day, and follow certain industry segments, and I look and see, who do I think might rebound, and then I do the analysis on that, and then I buy based on that. Connor Page asked, where are you taking questions from? And Connor, the answer is, I was answering the prior questions that had been posted to my Instagram that I didn't get a chance to answer yesterday, because I had left my iPad downstairs. So once I went live from my office here, I decided not to go back down. But I'm ready to take questions from you guys, and so I'll start with Instagram since I started with YouTube yesterday, and see if we've got any questions. If you got any questions, you're welcome to pose the questions, and we'll take them from there. Let's see. Thanks for doing this. It's very helpful. You're welcome. Where am I taking questions from? Love your content. Are you a player in the futures market? No, I'm not. I don't believe in either options trading or futures trading. I am. I'm just not. I'm not that kind of guy. So there's a lot of talk about oil, milk, and corn futures. Yeah, I know. I don't. Again, a lot of that speculative stuff, I think, is, yeah, that's like saying, I invested in roulette. I went in deep on red. I mean, I just think it's more like gambling. So, I think that's one of those things that I just don't think that, most of the things like cryptocurrency, or futures or options or forex, I think most of that is akin to gambling. And I actually have a system for winning at roulette, and we can talk about that another time. But so the I just don't think that any of this stuff is really isn't really valid as an actual investment. Investments have less risk than one might typically assume for something like options, but in futures. How long do you think I think America will take to recover from COVID? I don't know. I don't think America will recover in the next 5 years. How about that? I just don't. I think that the permanent damage in the global economy is going to be permanent, and I think it's going to take. I don't even know who gets elected next in the U.S. It doesn't even really kind of matter. At this point, I hope it's not Trump. I don't think this has been handled properly. I would like to see Mark Cuban run for president, but I don't know that Mark's going to get that chance here. You should do a new platform, Cora, in video format. Well, you know what? That's a good idea, Stefan. I should go over my answers in Quora and go down some of those. I might start doing that. Maybe on Tuesdays and Thursdays I'll do Quora. Sort of Quora live, and go over some of my answers on Quora. That might not be such a bad idea. So yeah, thanks for the idea. Even if a vaccine comes by September. So first of all, if you're dumb enough to get a vaccine that has been rushed to market without proper testing, without long-term understanding of what the consequences are, I'll take my chances with the disease. The disease mortality rate is less than 4%. So I've seen vaccines that got rushed to market where the mortality rate is 8 to 10%. So that means the vaccine kills more people than the virus did. So let's not go there. I think that's ridiculous. All right, let's see what we got here on YouTube for questions. Is there any networking opportunities that you passed up on that you regret looking back at? I started 25 or 30 years ago as a real introvert. I mean, I really, I know I've I've said for the longest time I am a Myers-Briggs, rated INTJ introvert. And then when I took the Jordan Peterson test at understandmyself.com, then my extroversion number was like 98 or 99%. And being on lockdown here has actually been the worst thing in the world. Normally, I'd be glad to kind of sit in my office and kind of just chill and get some stuff done. But I actually miss being out, having lunch with, my favorite restaurants and doing, having lunch meetings and stuff like that, and just interacting with people. So, I'm willing to accept the fact that I'm probably an ENTJ at this point. And but so I mean, I miss interacting with folks. So let's see here. So when I started out, I didn't go to as many functions as I probably should have, and so I missed a number of networking opportunities. Now I actually enjoy networking opportunities. It has nothing to do with whatever, relative success we've had over the years. I don't go and like to brag about what we've done and haven't done and things like that. I just enjoy, being with people and being out and around people. So the other question is from YouTube is, what do I think about the Bitcoin halving? So I think it's all bullshit. I mean, Bitcoin is so done. They're just having to do shit now to keep people's interest in Bitcoin. So, I don't give it much credence at all. So I think it's ridiculous. So, the question from Instagram is, do you think patience is important in business? Yeah. In fact, I used to be really impatient and I used to push hard, probably harder than I should have, for some deals to close. And the benefit has been, since I had kids, that the benefit since I had kids is the fact that I learned to be more patient because you have to with kids, and so it's been an opportunity for me to kind of adjust my expectations about the rest of the world. So, hey, Prodigal, how you doing, man? It's good to see you. Always love hearing from you guys. So, let's see what our next question is. Um, Hope you are well. Greetings from the UK. Come over and I'll buy you a beer. All right. So Rich John 11. So now since you're rich, then you can buy me a beer. So the but it's probably Rich, probably short for Richard Johnson or something. But Rich John. So yeah. So are you in London, Rich? It's I'm headed back over there as soon as all this stuff is lifted. I've got some work to do with some of my partners over there. So looking forward to that trip. And you want to be a real estate developer. Okay, well, um, you know, I want to be an astronaut. So, the chances are that, real estate development takes an enormous amount of funds. I don't think anybody who is a real estate developer right now enjoys being a real estate developer. So, it's, I think that, good for you for wanting to be a real estate developer. I just don't think that's a very good place to be right now. I think it'll take a while before the real estate development options will come back. Gordon, which stocks are best to buy in your opinion right now? Do you think that the lockdown will flatten the curve and get us more time for the vaccine, reduce the deaths? So I'll answer the flatten the curve question first. So first of all, the flatten the curve thing is a misnomer. They were showing huge spikes and they were showing the need to flatten the curve. If you calculate the area under the curve in their own graphs, there are just as many people, if not even more people, that die total by flattening the curve and having the curve extend out. That spike doesn't have that many people in it. It just overwhelms the existing healthcare system. So the flatten the curve was so that we didn't have dead bodies piling up at the hospital all at the same time. So if you do the math, and I'm a visual person, I'm a highly data analytical person, that flatten the curve section doesn't reduce the number of people who die. It has people dying over a longer period of time so the hospitals aren't overrun with dead people. So first of all, I think that's horrible. I think it was a horrible idea to flatten the curve, and I think that we should have allowed this to spike, and we should have allowed the people to build their immunity, and this would have been over a lot faster. I know it would have been overwhelming for the hospitals. I know it would have been, we didn't have the equipment, we didn't have the resources, we didn't have a lot of stuff. I completely get that. But having this huge spike get spread out over a longer period of time means more people are going to die. And I find that to be reprehensible. So it isn't a matter of more time to find a solution. It was just so that they didn't overrun the hospitals. So, what are the best stocks to buy? Alux did a thing about the 15 stocks to buy, and my Marathon Oil MRO stock purchase was in that as well. That's where I started my financial analysis on that stuff. They've been right on a lot of that stuff. Delta took a huge hit, but it's airline stocks, luxury consumer brands like Ralph Lauren, travel and hospitality stocks like Marriott and Hilton and things like that. And then, aside from the airline stocks, oil stocks. And I think those will come back. I think people that are sitting on oil contracts and things like that will do well. So I recommend you the Alex video, and I have an interest in simple investments, so I'm going to the university in fall to study finance, but I'm not entirely sure anymore. Anyway, I don't know what I'm passionate about. I feel lost. Well, thank you, Austin. I appreciate that. Um, so, um, it's not uncommon. First of all, I appreciate Austin. I appreciate the fact that you feel lost. That seems to be a common theme among millennials that don't know what they want to do. And I spend a lot of time busting on millennials, and I don't mean to do that. I have a lot of love for millennials, and only reason I'm tough on the millennials is that I love you guys, and the 18 to 29 crowd is where the real future is, and I realize now if I make that investment now, in 20 years, when those 29-year-olds are 49 and about to turn 50, they'll be closer to my age now. I'll be 75, and I'll still live long enough to see the success that comes from all of the work that I did to help those people get to where they are. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I think it's great. So, but it's not uncommon for people to not know what they want to do. I started out in aerospace engineering, and then decided I wanted to go to design school, and then decided to go to architecture school, and then realized that the industry for architecture was giving away a lot of responsibility to real estate developers and things like that. I didn't want to do that, and computers had just come along, and the interface was, user interface was a thing, and so I went, did my PhD work in human factors engineering, and focused on interface design and workflow optimization. So I spent 10 years trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And then I went from interactive multimedia to enterprise-wide systems to mobile development to all sorts of stuff. So, we continue to reinvent ourselves about every 5 years. And, I think that's what you have to do. And, but, it's not uncommon for you to not know what you want to do. The important thing is to just do something, and you'll always learn something from whatever you do. And so don't worry about the fact that you don't know what you want to do. It's pretty natural, actually. So you only learn by doing. So go do something, and if you don't like it, you can always do something else. All right, Rich. So you're north of London at St. Albans. Okay, great. So is copywriting a good skill to learn since e-commerce will be huge in the upcoming years, and because it's about selling. Sure, I think it's always important to learn to know how to write and sell and things like that. So being able to write decent copy, I think especially in multiple languages. I have some friends that are, know dozens of languages, and I think that in the growing global economy, being able to offer something like if you take, let's say everybody's, you know. Specialty is some particular language like Hindi or something like that. And if I wanted to start selling to people in India, and I can only do it effectively in by using the native language and in irrespective of local dialects and things like that, which there are thousands of, the or at least hundreds of. But it would be great to have somebody who could provide the appropriate copy for that. I mean, we've done it before in Spanish when we were doing work in South America. So yeah, I mean, I see that. All right, let's see what we got here on Instagram. Um, let's see. Any unconventional or offbeat financial advice? No, I'm not famous for, kind of, crazy off the cuff things. It's just not my thing. So, opinion on getting a college degree, but but going into debt. So, that's a good question, Connor. Thanks for that. I would say I had this conversation with a buddy of mine today who uh, his business is doing well and he doesn't want to finish his degree. He wants to basically lose his scholarship and quit what he's doing. And I've been working on mentoring sessions with him, and you know, it's hard when you look at the fact that he's facing, netting $3 million this year between he and his partner. They'll each net over $1 million. It's hard to believe that there's a whole lot of value in finishing your degree. They were at the right place at the right time with the right solution, and it looks like it's going to be very successful. But unfortunately, you can always go back to school, but most people don't. Once you quit, you usually stop. So I just think it's important that if you're going to do it and you're going to go into debt for it, it should be something that you really want to do, and it's something you plan on making money with. Otherwise, you're just spending a bunch of money to go to school for no reason. So, do I think that consumer behavior will change post COVID? Yeah, I'm sure it will. So, I'm sure it will. Will the Good Wolf asks, is that a Mark Rothko painting behind me? No, no, I wish. Rothko's paintings are going between 7 or 8 million, up to about 25 million or so right now. So, Mark Rothko's a favorite painter of mine. This is from a local artist that does a great job, I think, emulating his style. And the There's another painting. Let's see here. Other painting over there is by Bill Fisher, and Bill recently passed away. And the painting over here on the other side is a Winston Culpepper painting. Winston died several years ago, actually probably closer to 10 or 15 years ago. So I enjoy collecting artwork that I respect and enjoy, and things like that. So this artist behind me, I forget his name. It's on the back of the painting, but I thought his work was really very nice. I enjoy buying artists' work when they're not famous, and then when they become famous, then it just proves that I was right in making that investment, and I get to enjoy the work in the meantime too. It's you don't get to hang your stock certificates on your wall and enjoy looking at them nearly as much as artwork. So, do you think SoftBank will beat Adam Newman's in the case they are embroiled in? I have not been following SoftBank, so I'm not familiar with the case. Any financial advice apart from regular ones for a fresher entering the market. No, I mean, my financial advice, prodigal, is, as I've always said, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of just sticking money in an index fund of the Dow or in the index fund of the S&P 500. My advice that I gave on Quora the other day was to keep 10% in cash of whatever amount you've got. So if you have $10,000, then you would keep $1,000 in cash. You would put $1,000 into a speculative uh, account and trade with that, so you can buy stocks you think are going to, individual stocks that you think are going to go up. And then I would put 40%, or about $4,000 for every 10,000, into an index fund of the S&P 500, and the other 40% in an index fund of the Dow. And I think that's, if you just leave it there, then you'll be in good shape. So um, let's see. What about Bitcoin? Well, yeah, Bitcoin is, like I said before, Prodigal, before you join, Bitcoin is, I think, is a scam. I think it's gambling. I think, it's like saying, when somebody says, I invested in a bunch, I invested $10,000 last week in Bitcoin. And it's like, my analogy is, that's like saying I invested $10,000 last week in roulette, and hoping that it lands on red or black. And it just is a gamble as to whether the thing, it's just too volatile. And I don't believe it's investing. I think it's just pure out and out gambling. So all right, would you be equally happy if you didn't have the money you have today? Happiness comes from within. Yeah, I mean, I've been broke, and when I started out, and I've been pretty well off, making, you know, hundreds of thousands of, if net, and millions of dollars gross. And if I had a choice, I'd rather be rich than I would be broke. But my wife has been there from the beginning when I didn't have any money, and we lived in a small house, and things like that. So, my family will still be there, so I don't worry about that. I see all of these entrepreneurs doing Amazon FBA, Shopify, or other internet businesses models and making millions without any employees or overhead. So why start a real company if you care about money? Well, first of all, Amazon FBA and Shopify and things like that take a significant percentage of your sales for fulfillment. So, you're not paying for your own employees, but you're paying for their employees, and you're paying for their offices, and you're paying for their overhead. And but I think if you look, these people are claiming to make a whole bunch of money, and some people actually are. But if you can't just pick something that you're gonna, bring over in quantities of 1,000 from China and spend $3 on, expect to sell it for $9, and give $3 of the $9 to the platform you do it with, and be happy netting $3. It just doesn't work that way anymore. I mean, it isn't. There's 90 other people offering the same Bluetooth headphones that you want to sell for $9. They're offering for, you're offering for $9.99. They're offering for $9.98, and some other guys offering from $9.97, and some are free shipping. Some want to throw in, like, $10 in shipping, and hope you don't notice, and things like that. So it just depends. I mean, I don't think that those are very active business models. I believe in keeping low overhead. I believe in having as few employees as necessary, and but I don't think those businesses are sustainable in the same way that they were, like, let's say, like 3 or 4 years ago. SoftBank backed out of buying 3 billion worth of WeWork stock. Yeah, okay. So SoftBank is just smart for not buying WeWork. I mean, give me a break. WeWork was a disaster from the beginning. Hmm. I'm a huge fan of co-working spaces and things like that. I mean, we utilize the co-working spaces here ever since we decided that I was done paying $300,000 in rent over, X amount of time. We had paid well over $1 million in rent in over the years between our two offices. And, we got our guys to work remotely, and I finally shut down my office. And for what, $50 a month, I get access to the co-working space down the street when I need it. And meanwhile, I have my office set up here. I mean, you guys have seen, what the office is. I twirled around here, so I got plenty of space. I got everything I need right here, so I don't worry about it. WeWork was a disaster. They loaded themselves, they expanded too fast. There wasn't a big enough demand. They signed ridiculous 25-year leases. Nobody in their right mind would ever sign 25-year leases for that much real estate. And they just got caught holding the bag. I mean, it was a horrible way to use the money that they had gotten. I mean, it was horrible. Investors are right. The investors are in their right mind to not enjoy that. That's ridiculous. So, saw your take on Dorsey's tweet. Hot. Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I mean, I just think there's nothing wrong with what Dorsey's doing. That's where he's giving away, 28% of his fortune by giving $1 billion to COVID relief. My problem is that when people do it and go, "Oh man, I love everybody. I love humanity so much. I want to give humanity a big hug. Oh God, I love you guys. Everybody's hurting. Let me throw in $1 billion." If he really meant that, then write it off as something else, and like don't take the tax advantage that comes with it, and then see how much money people throw at shit. Again, I'm brutally honest. I'm intellectually honest about shit, and it drives me crazy when people are like, I mean, first of all, if I was ever in a situation where I had $4 billion and I was giving away $1 billion, first of all, whatever it is, I would be straight up about it. I go, you know what? It was the advice of my accountants and my attorneys gave me the advice that in order to optimize or maximize my benefits for the company and for everything else, I needed to make a donation. I elected to donate to this charity because I respect what that charity is doing. Making a charitable donation is not a big deal. You can make it to whoever you want. And if you can you can think COVID-19 relief is a great charity if you want, that's terrific. But then don't be intellectually dishonest about that and say, look, I just did it because I love humanity. You don't love humanity. You love the, million in tax you're not going to have to pay on the 35% upside or the 35% of tax. So, that means that he's set to make somewhere between 2 and 3 billion in gains. And he doesn't want to pay the $1 billion in tax on that. So he's going to take the donation and take the donation offset against that. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, he's going to get his money back. Don't cry for him. So, are there any righteous billionaires in the world? No, I don't think that, I think that I always said this is, I got this question on Quora, like, it's like, so why isn't Gordon Miller a billionaire? Which I'm like, I'd never want to be a billionaire. I mean, I did the math on my Quora answers before where, I'm the last thing in the world I want to be is a billionaire. Because typically, in order to be a billionaire, you have to fuck a bunch of people over. And I'm just not into fucking people over to make money. That's just not, I don't think that's ethically viable. I don't think that that's reasonable. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all to me. So, why in the world would I do that? I mean, I don't think anybody's made $1 billion who is like, I only did it because I love humanity and all this money I don't even know what to do with it. I mean, people know exactly what they're doing. And, people manipulate the stock price of their publicly traded companies all the time. People do all sorts of mean and evil shit. I mean, guaranteed contracts that are being issued to insiders of, the Trump organization that the whistleblower is now talking about Trump directing hydrochloroquine contracts to specific vendors because they're friends of his. So, anyway, but so Prodigal wants to know what my take is on Ty Lopez. So I've always said my answer's been consistent as I try to be with all my answers that I think Ty is fine. I mean, I like Ty. I purchased his 69 steps for 69 or 67 steps for $67, and I learned three or four things out of it, and I I got $67 worth of value out of it. So I don't. I'm trying to be intellectually honest about all that. The reality, though, is that I later joined the Mentor Box program and things like that. I joined at a time where it was like a certain amount, and then it was like $1 a month, for this organization that he set up. And I mean, I logged in once. I got like $100 worth of value, and I figure that's 100 months, free. If I log back in sometime in the next 5 or 6 years, again, and I get another $100 worth of value, then I can like also not log in for another 4 or 5 years and be fine. So, I'm good with that. I mean, Ty takes $1 out of my account every month. Congratulations, Ty. I mean, I appreciate it. I mean, it's I learned something, and for me, I learned. I enjoyed what I learned, so it's all good. All right. So, what was the other question here? Let's see. What are my thoughts on Cora's censorship? Yeah. Okay. Well, as some of you may know, I, you know, I mean, I have been the victim of persecution from Cora for much of the time I've been on there. And there's censorship stuff. I mean, they claim it's a bot issue, that their automated AI is downvoting stuff, but I know, it's like it's the same shift all the time. Downvote, 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 downvote. Everybody just goes, the same people at Quora that are working the night shift are just hitting the downvote thing 1,000 times, and getting all my stuff collapsed and things like that. I mean, it just is what it is. I mean, thankfully Quora won't have me to kick around much longer. Once everybody moves off of Quora and follows me here, then I won't have to worry about them anymore. Let's see. How do I know if there is a market need for my product? Well, Victor, you have to do some test marketing, and you have to see what the response is to that, and it's a part of the trial process, trial and error. Another question here on YouTube is, what do I think of Joe Rogan? I like Joe. I mean, I think Joe's broadcasts are good. I like listening to him, and I like his work, especially with Jordan Peterson. So let's see here. Thanks, my honesty is appreciated. Well, thanks, I appreciate that. So is the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation a sham, or is Bill really using his money to help humanity? So, uh, it is a sham, yeah. So, I don't think that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is a sham. I also, though, think that there's probably better ways that money could be used. I think that Bill is very altruistic, and I think that you know, I think I think the kind of things that they choose to invest the money in is fairly naive. Meaning that I just think that you're not ever going to make a large enough impact in certain areas to devote that much time and money in certain areas. But yet they do. And that's fine. It's his money. I mean, he can do whatever he wants to with it. So, but I don't think it's a scam or a sham. I think he cares. I really do think he cares. But, God save us from well meaning people. So, um, it's an elaborate tax haven apart from leveraging doctors' work. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously the foundation has huge tax advantages for the Gates family. And it also, I'm sure there's a family trust that is involved in the foundation. And if it's anything like the Clinton Foundation, you'll find that, like, if you look online, and I said this during the Trump election cycle in 2016, one of the things I was most critical of is that the Clinton Foundation has $485 million worth of deferred compensation in cash on the balance sheet of the Clinton Foundation. And I mean, all the financial records for you know, uh, every publicly available charity is out there. And all the public foundations are, all the financial sheets are published. But I went through and looked at it, and I was shocked. I mean, literally, the trust is a family trust that is owed the money, and the members of the trust are Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and Chelsea Clinton. And there's $485 million in the trust on the balance sheet in the foundation, and it's listed as deferred compensation. Is it illegal? No. But they're not being genuine. They're not, there's $500 million on the balance sheet of the organization that didn't go to solving any particular charitable, issues. It went into the pockets of the Clintons. And let's at least be honest about the $500 billion. Give me a break. Zuckerberg invested $5 billion in Joy, Geoy, relatively new Indian telecom company. Your thoughts? Well, sure, of course. I mean, Zuckerberg wants to deploy satellites, in geosynchronous orbit, that will provide global coverage for everybody. And India has a large population, and so it's no surprise. So, question from YouTube is, have I heard of Jeffrey Epstein? Yeah, I don't know Jeffrey Epstein personally, and now he's dead. But from what I understand, Jeffrey Epstein offered to cooperate with investigators about information that he had on the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation and everything else, and that's why he mysteriously ended up dead in custody. So, I'm not sure how you hang yourself with a paper sheet in your cell without anybody noticing when the video cameras are conveniently off. But, I mean, obviously Epstein did not kill himself. I mean, the autopsy shows that he had 3 crushed vertebrae from being strangled. So, obviously Jeffrey Epstein knew too much about the Clinton organization and ended up paying the ultimate price. So, but anyway, what do you think of Dan Locke? A couple videos on YouTube. He's a scam internet marketer. I don't know who Dan Locke is. I haven't seen the videos. I got about a minute 30 seconds left. So so I'm just going to say I'm going to sign off on both platforms at the same time this time. That way I'm not late for dinner. It's 6 o'clock. I caught hell for being late last time. So I will add a new service item to gordonmiller.com for a 30-minute meeting. If you guys want to sign up, feel free. Hour-long session still available. I didn't cut my price, but it's half the time for half the money. I've enjoyed working with everybody. And so if you've got other questions, some of the ones we may not have gotten to here today, DM me the questions on Instagram, and I will add them to my Instagram post, and we'll cover them on the live session on Monday. Friday, I'm going to go live with my wife again. We'll see how that goes. So it went really well. A lot of viewers, a lot of good questions, things like that. So my wife will be live with me on Friday on my Live at 5 broadcast. I wanted to at least take this opportunity on Thursday to answer some of the questions. It's not my normal broadcast time. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 o'clock Eastern, -4 GMT. And appreciate everybody very much. Love you guys. And if there's anything I can do, just reach out. GordonMiller.com. Thanks, guys.